it's absolutely something to think about. It's a simple question, but there are a lot of layers to that, a lot of ways that can be answered. And that's something we all have to ask each other. What is enough? I love that.
Yeah, well, we see that a lot in coaching. We hear that a lot, from physicians who come in and want to figure out, how do I find satisfaction again? How do I find reward? And when we start to do the coaching work, many times these are the things that come up. These are the things that bubble up to the surface. Dale just wrote an article not so long ago for our blog, where you shared a particular situation with a physician that had that exact situation. Worked with this person for a while to develop what's their strategy to find fulfillment, and it ended up took a different job, had a little different pay, but part of the work that happened in the coaching was, what is enough? What do I need so that I can gain what I really want? And what she really wanted was more time with family. And so instead of saying, I don't have the ability, sitting down, and sometimes coaching can really help with that, create what the strategy is. Sometimes we can't see it, but having that dialogue to work through, all right, what are my options? Yes, I do have options. And then what is it that's going to help me get to what is the right enough for me now to both feel fulfilled in the profession I've chosen and have the things that I want. Joel, you did that. You did that, and you had the wherewithal to do it on your own. And that's wonderful. Not everybody has that ability. And that's where coaching really can come into play and be supportive. That's where I'd like to see some wellness officers out there kind of take a look at what may be helpful as a resource for their physician staff, because it's work, but it can be done, and it really can help with satisfaction for your profession.
Rhonda, when you're just saying, you just said something too that really struck me. At the end of the day, it seems like we know better too. A lot of what are the things that, if you ask all of us, what's the most important thing? It generally boils down to, your family, the people that you love, and just being able to, have a fulfilled life, having just I don't know, whatever it is. It's really not that complicated, but we overcomplicate things. And this is where we get stuck, and where we just need that little push to kind of get us back on track too. I just see that, everything that we've talked about today, so much as it boils down to those basic things that make us happy, and yet we stray and we get pulled off track time and time again. And it's being able to recognize when that's happening and kind of hit the reset button, so that you don't become a statistic, or fall into the trap even further.
Do you think, because what I now at the university, and I see the residents, and I think some of them have a better mindset than the middle-aged and the folks our age. I mean, we were under a whole different system, and I think the kids now have a little different idea about things. What are you seeing?
I started seeing that. Gosh, I was doing interviews from a corporate stance about, I'm going to go back 15, almost 20 years ago. I started to see that different mindset, in that it wasn't just, here are the things I can do for you because I'm here in an interview. What are you going to do for me? Were some of the questions that I started hearing back. And at first it was a little surprising, because that wasn't the tradition, that wasn't the norm, that wasn't how, this conversation typically goes. But then after reflecting on it, it was very refreshing, because it really should be a two-way relationship here too. How am I going to support you so that you can come and do your best for me? So I saw it about 20 years ago. So I would agree with you. That's where I started seeing a mind shift to that end. And also raising my own daughter. She's 25, she'll be 26 in May. And her peers, her contemporaries, they are very much about experience, and life is an experience. and it's not just about what the profession is. It's of a high priority. And so I do see that reflected in the choices that they make.
See this really interesting dichotomy. The kids, in some ways, they're a product of every kid gets a trophy, and everybody's special. But at the same time, we've got a generation when the kids, what you're describing, Rhonda, when the kids are coming out, you read polls and things that they're interested. They want meaning in their careers. They want to serve society in greater ways, and so we see that. So there's certainly hope, but it's really interesting because there's also this side of it all too. Well, what are you going to do for me? And well, you haven't earned anything yet. You've got to come and get your uniform dirty first before we're going to talk about that. So I just think it's interesting to just the observations.
I've definitely seen a difference in residents in family medicine on the people that are coming in. And some of it is a product of our work hours restrictions. And so I think one of the ways that has been helpful is that they are aware that they have this time. What they do with it is what they do with it. But I've definitely seen it in that generation. The residents haven't come in and say, what are you going to do for me? But they have what's for those of us in primary care. I mean, we look at family medicine. Some people write about 3 different generations of family docs. The first generation are the ones that invented it, who were 24/7, 365, mostly male, and their wives were at home raising the kids. And that's just what the arrangement was. And that's just what you do. And then the generation 3 is kind of where we are now, which is when I'm at work, I am fully engaged at work. But when I'm not at work, I'm fully engaged in not being at work. And that's not the way the generation 1 folks were. And I'm generation 2, which is sort of in between. I don't really know what to think, and stuck with so there is so as a faculty member, we were like, that's interesting. When I was a resident, if my patient called, I just took care of it, even if I was post-call. They're like, not my table, I'm not here, I'm not available. And it kind of created some tension between the faculty and residents. But like, I reframed that for me. It's like, well, they're doing a better job of taking care of themselves than we did. And so I definitely see the generational difference.
This is certainly a topic for another lounge. This really is.
The generation.
I can just feel my blood pressure starting to go up a little bit. It's like, what do you mean you're off, dude? No, that person calls. How hard is it to just give them an answer?
Yeah.
What I liked was I had several, and it's more now, but women in the profession who had their professional name and then their married name. They were Dr. So-and-so, and they kept their maiden name as Dr. So-and-so. But after hours, they were Mrs. So-and-so and on the PTA, or, so-and-so's mom, but they had 2 different names.
Wow.
And so I thought that was an interesting way of working out how they separated stuff.
I wonder if that's an Ozarkian thing, Joel. I don't know if that
I've not witnessed that.
Deb may want to weigh in on that.
Sounds more like mild-mannered
No thanks.
by
I'm not
day,
even gonna try that one.
Cape Crusader by night, mild-mannered reporter by day.
That's interesting.
One of the things that I think you brought up, Joel, that is so important is intention. So you said, why am I doing this? And it seemed like that also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but played into your ability to say, nope, stop me. I'm taking that day. You kind of accessed your priorities. You were able to kind of focus in on what was important to you and really look at that intention. I think that's really impressive. And it speaks a little bit to what you're saying, Dale, is sort of like, I think, I'm not going to put you in a particular group of 1, 2, and 3, Joel, because I'm not going to do that. But it seems like you in the earlier group kind of knew the things that the 3rd group knows now, which is, no, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't make sense. What do I want to do? What's important to me? And it gave, and correct me again if I'm jumping to an assumption, but it sort of seemed like it gave you the strength to say, nope, I'm not doing that. That's not going to work for me. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't think I thought about it too
Hmm.
much. I'm not really a deep thinker. It was more of a gut, like, I got to get out of here, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And, Dale's the deep thinker. I'm not the deep thinker. I'm just a gut player. So it was like, this isn't right. Do something else.
Mhm. Well, it could come from the gut, right? It's an intuition that says, I'm going to look at this, but yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you so much for joining our discussion today. If you'd like to learn more about our guest, head on over to our Patreon page where you can access exclusive content, including the full segment of our show. Never want to miss an Inside the Doctor's Lounge clip? Be sure to click the subscribe button to our MD Coaches YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate suggestions for future show topics, so let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. And finally, special thanks to Ryan Jones, who created and performs our theme music for the show.